So tonight in Greenfield, which is just the best little town, and doesn't she know it? She's Junebug Colson, and she's performing tonight with Haas Ridgeway at the Rick Center in Greenfield. She's on the phone now. Junebug, good morning.
Good morning, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing great. No, way to beat the snow, by the way. If this show were tomorrow night, Saturday, it might be a different story, but you'll be plenty safe coming out for this. You wrote a memoir, Memoirs of a Who-Billy, and I think if that's not a term you're used to, we can kind of figure it out. But while I've got the source on the phone, what's a Who-Billy to you?
So a hoobilly is someone who is part Indiana Hoosier, part Kentucky hillbilly. So here's why I'm so hyped about being in Greenfield. So, Matt, I was actually born in Greenfield, Indiana. I was raised in Shirley, Indiana, a little town outside of Greenfield. And my dad actually worked for General Motors. So he was transferred to Kentucky when I was a kid. So I was about 10 years old. And I remember my grandpa telling me I was no longer a Hoosier, but I wasn't born in Kentucky, so I wasn't a hillbilly. So he coined the phrase Who-Billy. So I have been a Who-Billy. And a lot of my comedy is about my kind of crazy Who-Billy family. And so, yeah, that's what a Who-Billy is. Part Hoosier, part hillbilly.
And can you just tell me about what it was like to write a book? Because it's one thing to say, hey, I'm going to write a book one of these days, or wouldn't it be fun to write a book? But then when you get into it, and I'm sure you can attest to this, it's a different thing, right? So when you decided to write this book and you got into it and you're writing down your thoughts, you're writing down your memories, and you're structuring it and things like that, what were some of the things that kind of hung you up? Because that's the sort of thing that happens when you write your first book.
Oh, my goodness. Listen, so a lot of people will talk about us doing comedy and are like, wow, isn't that hard, being on stage in front of people? And that's a difficult thing. But even more vulnerable, I found, is sharing like really big pieces of your life and your childhood. And so I knew it was going to be a lot of writing, but Matt, what took me by surprise was reading. I was actually going to have to read this book over and over and over again, even when the publisher had a hold of it and the editing and, those kind of things. And they send it back and you read it again and again and again. And I was willing to write it. I just didn't know I was going to have to read it so many times. And it's funny the first time you read it, but after a while, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't stand to hear my voice anymore. Now I get what my family complained about for so many years. I thought Shush was my middle name, Matt. I was June Shush all the time. And I'm like, now I have to listen to my voice 10,000 times. So yeah, but honestly, it was a lot of fun. And it is about a lot of fun childhood memories. I dive into some difficult things, but for the most part, it's very lighthearted. And I hope that people at least see, if they think their family's crazy, they may, finish reading the book going, but we ain't that crazy. You know what I mean?
Well, you need that sort of thing, don't you? It can't just all be up here and it can't just all be light. You got to get to some real stuff, and you definitely get into some real stuff in Memoirs of a Who-Billy. And it's great. Are you going to have it at the show tonight? You going to be able to sell it at the venue?
I will have it at the show tonight. So this will be the first group of people that I actually get to have the book at the show. I'll be signing it. So yeah, I'll be there and I'll have the book.
Going to be a big night for Junebug Colson, who takes the mic tonight at Rick Center in Greenfield with comedian Haas Ridgeway, also part of the show. There's still some room at this show. If you want to go, you can visit rickcenter.com. That's Rick Center with an E at the end of center, all fancy like rickcenter.com. June, have fun tonight. Thanks for your time this morning.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Matt.